My name is Russell Brewer, and I am a senior lecturer at the University of Adelaide. So the key theoretical framework that underpins our work actually comes out of the work of David Matza, which looked at how people, particularly young people, would drift from conventional to non-conventional or legitimate or licit forms of behavior to illegitimate, illicit, or delinquent forms of behavior. Now, Matza's work really stressed the fact that criminal identities were not necessarily stable, that an individual was not necessarily deviant or delinquent all the time, but rather those pathways could exhibit what he called drift, that movement or escalation of activities as well as a de-escalation of activities that would take place along these pathways. And with respect to our work in the digital realm, we felt that digital technologies could in many ways augment and exacerbate this process, that the daily use of technology by young people in particular augmented the extent to which young people could acquire new criminal capabilities, could connect with new people, either known people or unknown people, that digital technologies could serve as a quick and easy resource to get access to new forms of information, and in many ways that digital technologies made it easy to drift from conventional to non-conventional forms of behavior, and in particular that such forms of drift, they could be unplanned, they could be accidental. So our project exploring youth pathways into digital delinquency, or otherwise referred to as the Digital Youth Research Project, is an ARC-funded 5-year study that involves 2 separate steps. That first step involves a 4-year longitudinal survey where we're capturing information about young people, individual attributes about 2,000 young people across South Australia. We're capturing information about their digital engagements, how they're using digital technology and with who, and we're also capturing information about various forms of digital delinquency that they engage in. Now, what we're actually going to do with this data over time is be able to capture information about, in particular, changing risk profiles over time. So we're going to be able to, and when we relate this back to drift, we can identify who is drifting, whose delinquent behaviors are escalating, whose delinquent behaviors are de-escalating. And that informs the second stage of our project, which are qualitative interviews, where we're actually going to identify, pull out, and sit down and speak to young people who have escalated, who have de-escalated, who have drifted in some way, shape, or form, to try and understand the various factors that are driving drift. So what we found in our work, and I should preface this by saying our results at this point are preliminary, as we've only captured 1 year's worth of survey data up until this point, so stay tuned, is that we have established that there are links between young people, their individual attributes, between the ways in which young people are using digital technology, be that exposure to different sites and services, be that the types of devices that they're using, or the amount of time that they're spending online, or who they are physically interacting with, or who they are virtually interacting with, and a variety of forms of digital delinquency that include intellectual property infringement, fraud and illicit transactions, unauthorized access or hacking, various forms of sexual activity online, encountering, creating, or accessing discriminatory or violent content, and various forms of harassment or cyberbullying that occurs online. So that there are links between engagement in these digitally delinquent activities and one's otherwise digital engagements and those individual attributes. So our research has been designed to offer a range of both academic and practical implications, and I think probably could be best characterized in terms of, one, offering a more nuanced understanding of the role of digital technologies in digital delinquency, and building upon that to be able to garner an understanding and be able to inform preventative methods, to be able to understand what sort of interventions might be the most effective when it comes to preventing or intervening in digital delinquency. So what would I change about research in my field? Well, that's actually a pretty tricky question. I think one of the first things I would do would be to encourage more theory building, particularly in the cybercrime space, not simply the adaptation of pre-existing theory, but to really try to flesh out the significance, the affordances of digital technologies and how these might reshape theoretical understandings of crime and deviance. The other thing that I think I would change would be to encourage more multi-method work, to really see a convergence in both quantitative and qualitative work within the same studies. I believe, whilst certainly more time-consuming and more costly, I believe provide a much more in-depth and nuanced understanding of crime and deviance, particularly in the digital space.